I'm Mark Freeburn, CEO of AAM. We went through a few of those trends. Obviously there are sensor trends at the moment. There's a number of new sensors and new technologies coming onto the market, some of which will have a huge impact. They'll also increase in the volume of data and the style of the data and the information that's presented to our customers. But as well as that, obviously we spoke about things like autonomous vehicles, both in the air and on the ground and in the water. But in particular, in the air is probably where we'll see the most impact from autonomous vehicles or remotely piloted aircraft, as we would refer to them. And in terms of where the industry is going, we would see that just about the movement towards making more of a geo solution than it is just the presentation of data for our clients is a primary driver for our business and for our clients. AAM has for a number of years now been developing its own cloud-based solutions to provide a platform to feed our data back to our clients in usable forms for them. It's not just a matter of being able to take just standard photogrammetric data in whatever shape that is, point clouds or in pixels in an image form. It's about actually presenting real information that's useful to our clients and giving them access to a broader scale, to a greater volume and to easily accessible data, and that's really the key, the accessibility of that data. So we're putting a lot of attention into our geo solutions part of the business, and along with that also matching up with making sure that we've got state-of-the-art sensors and state-of-the-art solutions in how we're actually acquiring data to feed that geo solution. It has some impact on us and it does take some changes to the marketplace. There's been some very positive things out of that. For example, the sheer ubiquitous nature almost of data capture now produced by, as the words you use were drones, but produced by UAVs or remotely piloted aircraft or remotely piloted water-based vessels, for example, means that we've had to change our software provisions, our workflow status and all those things that go along with that, and that's all had positive effect on both AAM and the geospatial industry in whole. The way that we're reacting to it is we have our own fleet of UAV aircraft operating. We're looking at how we will do that in our other theatres of operation at the moment, in Africa and in New Zealand and in Asia. But in Australia we're operating that almost continuously. We're looking at the whole options about whether we will move towards LiDAR-based applications for UAV things, moving towards larger aircraft, beyond line of sight capabilities in shared airspace. All that requires some regulatory controls both in Australia and around the world, but that will come and it's coming very quickly. So they will be the changes we're moving to and being ready to adopt. It's constantly under review. At the moment, most commercial applications are limited to what we call line of sight operations, and they have a vertical ceiling to which we can operate. But that's under constant review, and in a lot of the places that we would operate well away from controlled airspace, we can actually push that quite a bit by using experimental approvals by the regulatory controls at the moment. But there will be a coming acceptance of the fact that UAVs are here to stay, and the regulators throughout the world are looking to how they will actually adopt that into controlled airspace. It's probably only a matter of maybe 2 years away from in some parts of the world, in some parts a little bit further than that. In Australia and New Zealand, it's still a very healthy market. It's a very mature market and a hotly contested market. So there's a lot of competition in the Australian market. Now, that has huge benefits for the customer, of course. There's some of the most up-to-date sensors and most up-to-date environments for data capture actually occur in Australia and in New Zealand for that matter. But the trend at the moment and what's happening there at the moment is to look for faster and better processing patterns, to make use of cloud, not just for distribution but also for processing, and to get to the point where we can actually make faster delivery to our clients and more relevant delivery to our clients. The whole Australian economy is very much driven by the resource market and the oil and gas market. So recent attention has been a lot to the gas developments in Australia, both in Western Australia, Northern Territory and Queensland, and probably oncoming in New South Wales. In New Zealand, much more of the work is about environmental work and municipality work and governmental work, where it's much more government supported for government programs there, both at a local level, district level, regional level in New Zealand. So in Australia, it's clearly the resource sector, the oil and gas sector, and supported by both federal and state governments who have mandated needs to actually produce mapping programs, but as well as to actually come up with ways to improve their environmental inputs. One of the bigger programs in Australia in recent times has been the mapping of the Murray-Darling Basin, which is a very large part of the eastern side of Australia, and that's been a very big program undertaken by Geosciences Australia. Programs like that will be ongoing in Australia. I think there's obviously continued attention to the oil and gas sector, to the resource sector in Australia. There will be massive attention to the environmental sector in Australia. Like everywhere else, it's been affected by what are now known to be the effects of global warming, be that sea level range where we have a huge coastline, but also for the rise in temperature across our agricultural grounds in Australia. And there will be greater attention to management of all those, both agricultural and environmental resources in Australia. So it will be the growth pattern for Australia. I think the question I would put to most of our clients is to talk to us about what they actually want to do with the data, rather than how they want to specify what they think the data should be. I think there's always that compromise between over-specifying the data and then paying for products that aren't necessarily what you think they'll be used for. So if we had the chance, I would love to have the opportunity to discuss and be more consultative with our clients, and with all clients right around the world, for that matter, about what's actually needed from the data. And from our experience and from the geospatial industry's experience, to be able to give forthright and honest answers as to how that should be captured, or how that should be acquired, how it should be managed, and how it should be distributed. In terms of broad acre acquisition, I don't really think we're at real time in any application that I can see, no matter what the platform is for that acquisition. So the term of real time is more a matter of, I guess, relative to where we've been in the past. We are getting much quicker, we're getting much faster at being able to produce data, but we're not real time yet. We can't actually say, well, I want to see what's happening on this roadway all the time, every time.